every Israeli accusation is a confession. Israelis claim October 7 was the biggest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. Palestinians have nothing to do with the Holocaust, they are not Europeans. Israel is the one carrying out a Holocaust every day against Palestinians since October 7, a brutal, systematic campaign of genocide with bombings, shootings, and starvation. Israelis claim Hamas stripped women and paraded them around on October 7. This is exactly what Israelis did to Palestinian women in the 𝙀𝙀𝙚𝙧𝙮 massacre in 1948. Let me read to you what the British delegation to the United Nations wrote at the time. During the attack by Jews on the Arab village of 𝙀𝙀𝙚, women and children were stripped, lined up, photographed, and then slaughtered. Israelis claim Hamas raped Israelis on October 7. Once again, there is no evidence, only projection. Here's an Israeli soldier laughing about raping Palestinian girls in 1948 during the Nakba.
אחד אנס שם איזה ילדה בת 16, משהו כזה. אתה מבין? אבל זה מכוער מאוד. היה לנו בחור אחד, הוא נפטר, הוא היה פרא אדם. הוא לקח פשוט מאוד ורצח אותם בתוך המכלאות.
There are literally so many cases of Israelis raping or sexually assaulting Palestinian men, women, and children that I cannot even show them all on the screen. Israeli female soldiers are also raped or assaulted by other Israeli soldiers in the IDF. Israelis claim Hamas killed pregnant women on October 7th. This is again something that Israelis actually did to Palestinians at the Sabra and Shatila massacre in Lebanon in 1982. One eyewitness saw a pregnant woman who had her baby ripped out of her stomach. They cut her in two. Another woman, she was also pregnant, they ripped the baby from her stomach as well. Israelis claim Hamas burned people on October 7th. It's actually the Israeli army that burned people that day with tanks and helicopters. Israel used the Hannibal Directive, which stipulates that the Israeli army can kill their own people to prevent them being taken hostage. The number of Israelis killed by their own forces is so high that the IDF said it wouldn't be morally sound to investigate it, according to an Israeli paper, יידיעות אחרונות. Hamas simply didn't have the firepower that day to cause any of this damage. Israelis claim Hamas burned babies alive on October 7th. The Israelis literally threw a Palestinian baby into an oven with its father during the 𝙀𝙀𝙚 massacre.
في الفرن والنسوان قاعدات على الأرض وكل واحدة قاعدة وحاطة إيديها على راسها هيك وبقولوا للفران ارمي ابنك بالفرن ارمي ابنك بالفرن اسمه حامد. قال لهم أنا ما برمي ابني. قال له شوي. هم ضربوا الحاج حامد على راسه ومسكوا الولد رموه بالفرن. أنا شفت هالمنظر. شفت هالمنظر ما تمش فيها حيل من مرة. يعني بعدين مسكوا الأب حطوه وراه قالوا له الحق ابنك.
It's incredible. The more you learn about this massacre, the more you understand where the Israelis get all this propaganda from. It's projection. Israelis claim Hamas used Palestinians as human shields. All you find are Israeli soldiers using Palestinians as human shields, even girls and boys as young as 9 years old. The Israelis even sent a Palestinian boy down the tunnels in Gaza with explosives on him in December. Israelis claim Hamas used hospitals as military cover. Do you know an Israeli death squad literally stormed a hospital last week in the West Bank, dressed up, pretending to be doctors and nurses? They then executed 3 wounded resistance fighters, just shot dead 3 patients in their beds. If that's not terrorism and using hospitals as military cover, I don't know what is. Israelis claim Hamas mistreat hostages. Israel is notorious for mistreating and torturing hostages. Many Palestinians are held without charge or trial and report horrific conditions. You got groups of men stripped naked by Israeli forces and tortured in Gaza, and the Israelis filmed this themselves. One Palestinian medic described being kidnapped and tortured by both American and Israeli soldiers in Gaza. Another Palestinian man was shot in the leg by Israelis. They then cut his leg off.
I am an old guy. I am 62 years old. When I told them I did not know, they shot my leg. Afterwards, they amputated my leg.
I mean, this whole war is happening in the first place because Israel kidnaps so many Palestinians and jails them in abusive conditions without any reason. Look at the difference also, how Israeli hostages were waving goodbye and shaking hands with their Hamas captors when released. Israelis claim no innocent civilians in Gaza. Every Israeli is either in the military or a reservist in the military. And that includes both men and women from age 18 to 40. And then they turn around and pretend that they're civilians. Palestinians are the real civilians. They don't have any military service. And then you have, of course, the Israeli settlers who walk around with rifles and just murder Palestinians with zero consequences. Israelis claim Palestinians are anti-Semitic. Most Israelis are not Semitic, okay? Look at Netanyahu, look at all the Israeli prime ministers before him. Not one of them is an actual Semite. They come from Poland, from Ukraine, from Russia. Palestinians are actual Semites. They are Semitic. And by slaughtering them, what does that make the Israelis? It makes the Israelis the biggest anti-Semites on the planet. Israelis claim Palestinians are Jew haters. Not only is that a lie, you should hear what the Israelis say when they speak in Hebrew. The amount of hatred and racism they spew is unbelievable. Remember the Israeli defense minister calling Palestinians human animals when cutting all food to Gaza?
אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור. אנחנו נלחמים בחיות אדם.
Besides, if Palestinians hate Jews so much, why did all these European Jews go to Palestine and try to make a country there? Palestinians have a problem with Zionism and colonialism, not with Jews. Israelis claim Hamas fire rockets indiscriminately at civilians. Israel is the one that bombs civilians indiscriminately using the largest bombs available. Almost 30,000 people have been killed in Gaza, and the overwhelming majority are civilians. Israel has killed more civilians per ratio in Gaza than any war in the 20th century. Think about that. Israelis claim Hamas are killing their own people. They could stop this war by surrendering and releasing the hostages. It is Israel that kills its own people using the Hannibal Directive, and not only on October 7th, but even afterwards. Israel killed 60 Israeli hostages in Gaza with its own bombs. Israel shot dead 3 Israelis waving white flags and trying to surrender speaking Hebrew. One Israeli mother said that her son was gassed by the Israeli army, and she compared it to Jews in Auschwitz. Israelis claim Hamas want to commit genocide against Jews. Israel is the one committing genocide by starving 2 million people in Gaza, depriving them of food, water, and medicine and fuel since October. Israeli politicians constantly make genocidal statements, have even called for dropping a nuclear bomb on Gaza, and refer to Palestinians as Amalek, who must be wiped out. The World Court ruled it plausible that Israel is committing genocide against Palestinians and ordered them to stop. But even after being told by the court to allow humanitarian aid in, these so-called ordinary Israeli civilians literally go and block aid. They stand in front of the trucks to stop aid entering Gaza so that more Palestinians starve to death. Israelis claim Hamas is a terrorist organization. This is funny, given the fact the Israeli army was considered a terrorist organization in Britain when it was still made up of the Haganah, Irgun, and Stern gang. Several Israeli prime ministers were literally wanted terrorists in the United Kingdom. They were responsible for numerous bombings and assassinations. They even tried to murder the US President Harry Truman and assassinate Winston Churchill during World War II while he was fighting the Nazis. Not to mention the fact every day Israeli soldiers post videos of themselves terrorizing Gaza, blowing up homes, schools, entire city blocks, vandalizing shops and torturing prisoners. Palestinian groups like Hamas are guerrilla fighters. The only ones calling them terrorists are Israel and its allies. Israelis claim Israel has the right to defend itself. No, Palestinians are the ones who have the legal right to defend themselves because they are occupied. As a colonizer, Israel, of course, tries to appropriate this. Israel is an occupying power and has no right whatsoever to defend itself, and that is according to the law. Israelis claim Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. Right, and I suppose that makes everyone undemocratic, is that it? Israel has killed more journalists in the last 4 months than any war to date, so it can try to cover up its crimes. Israel spends more time and energy than anyone trying to suppress free speech around the planet and get people fired or in trouble for voicing legitimate criticism of Israel's genocidal behavior. Israel throws Palestinians in prison without charge or trial. It also has a military censor, meaning the army can stop newspapers from publishing stories they don't like and punish journalists with jail time if they just do their jobs. Israelis claim, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, is a call for genocide against Jews. Really, then how come Israelis use this slogan all the time?
In the future, the state of Israel have to control on the entire area from the river to the sea.
They don't just say it, they actually implement it and commit genocide against Palestinians to steal their land. The charter of Netanyahu's Likud party said that between the sea and Jordan there will only be Israeli sovereignty. The Israeli flag itself has a Star of David between two blue lines, symbolizing this slogan, or even from the Nile to the Euphrates, which is larger. Palestinians don't want genocide. They want to liberate Palestine to what it used to be, a country where Christians, Muslims, and Jews live together peacefully, and not a racist state that belongs to one group. Israelis claim Palestinians want to throw Jews into the sea. Israelis literally drove Palestinians into the sea when they bombed Haifa in 1948. So this is really just projection. It's guilt and fear from the Israelis. They know that they threw Arabs into the sea and they are afraid that Arabs will seek revenge and do the same to them. Israelis claim Hamas want to wipe Israel off the map. Israel is the one that wants to wipe Palestine off the map by colonizing it. Look how Palestine has shrunk over the years as Israel has stolen more and more land and done everything to block a Palestinian state and a two-state solution. Palestinians recognized Israel in 1993, but Israel have shown that they are incapable of existing peacefully without stealing more land and building more illegal settlements. Hamas exists precisely because the Israelis have done everything to wipe Palestine off the map. And all these Zionist accusations are confessions, their projection, an admission of Israel's guilt, and an attempt to obfuscate and hide the truth.